A very good morning, aspirants. This is me, Yasmin Gill, presenting to you the PIB highlights of 26th of January. So, firstly, thank you so much for coordinating with the delay. So, let's begin. So, you can rate and review the course, plus beginning with the first topic, that is polity and governance. Because of the Republic Day, we have very less topics and we'll be covering certain articles. So, the first one is related to the relation between republic and democracy, and it's a very informative article, and this is from Indian Express, written by Pratap Bhanu Mehta. So he analyzes that constitution, because of the Republic Day, we got two major constitutional values, right? One is related to republic. We say in our preamble that our constitution is a republic. Our India country is a republic, and simultaneously we also say that India is a democratic state, right? So firstly, he analyzes about the democracy. Then he will analyze the relation between elections, that is democracy, and other constitutional values. So let's firstly understand what are the flaws in our current democratic system. So overall what he means to say is, then we'll come to individual points. He means to say that we tend to understand democracy by merely elections. So we say that elections happen, therefore our India is democratic. But this is not so. Why? Because elections is just the minima of democracy. There are many things to the whole concept of democracy. There is debate, there is discussion, there is free flow of values, free flow of ideas, etc. So but this is what includes in the whole concept of democracy, but we tend to understand democracy by merely elections. So he points out in the flaw in this thinking of elections. So firstly, he say that elections, they do act as a safeguard against tyranny, but this is not always. How? Because they act as a safeguard only when the electorate, it brings up a divided power. In case the electorate brings up a concentrated power, it can be a big hindrance to liberty, which is another constitutional value, right? Mentioned in the preamble as such. Also, he puts forward two very beautiful questions you can think upon. The first one says, in most countries, elections exist to promote democracy. So elections are a way towards democracy. While in India, what happens is that democracy exists for elections. This is one point. Second, do we regard elections as the floor, that is the minima, or the ceiling of democracy? So we usually tend to, in India, we usually tend to regard elections only as the ceiling of the democracy, while elections are merely the minimum part of the whole concept of democracy. So these are two questions which you can even put forth in your answers, in your essays, in case you get a question upon on such an issue. So what happened is, last year when Punjab Civil Services examination was there, so in the written exam of the same, there was a question related to constitutional values and how are they relevant today. So in such a question, you can analyze each of the values of a preamble. So here is analysis of republic and democracy. Next, we have that what happens in elections. So this is one thing which happens, which is the outcome of elections, right? So outcome of elections is a government. So maybe it is not always against tyranny. This is one thing. Second aspect of the elections is what happens during elections. So during elections, what happens is all the issues of Indian society, be it religion, caste, etc., they are politicized. So elections have the ability to subordinate almost all other issues. And this is a good point as well as a bad point. Why good? Because, for example, see, say that there are scheduled castes, there are scheduled tribes, right? So someone stands to promote their issues, right? But at the same time, this is wrong, because a large amount of politicization might not always result to their benefit, and might be used as merely issues to promote electoral gains as well. Next. So what is the relation between elections and other constitutional values? See, firstly, he says that we elect a government, but it is not necessary that that government will take care of other constitutional values. That constitutional value might include certain democratic values, for example, freedom of speech and expression, civil liberty, regard for due process of law, and so on. In fact, on constitutional values, a very beautiful statement given by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was that people like you and me, we are citizens of India, right? So in this context, the relationship we share is not due to some shared identity, rather due to shared values. For example, say I am a Sikh, any other person is a Sikh, right? So we are not shared by this bond. We are into a relationship. Why? Because we share a common constitutional value. So this is what pertains to constitutional values. It brings a sense of fellowship. Other than that, patriotism is in fact loyalty to these values, and not towards a unified will which you have selected via elections. Also, he says that the elected government must actually promote constitutional politics. So there must be, I would say, campaigning related to issues such as, is India truly democratic? When you were in your regime, did you give proper constitutional freedom of expression, and so on? But now on, this is not happening. So constitutional politics is not into game. Next we have is the fact that what happens today is that community sentiment is harnessed. So community sentiment is used to actually make laws and actually do administration. For example, you can think upon the fact that people come to streets and ask for quotas, and then law is made for quotas. So this is how community sentiment is tapped. So overall electoral politics itself is very corrupt. You have criminalization of electorate of the people who get, of the candidates who get elected, right? So this is how elections are not always the bestest safeguard, and hence mere the understanding of democracy what we have is not sufficient. And there's a quote by Gandhiji also which you can use that goes on to say that corruption and hypocrisy ought not to be the products of democracy as they are today. And lastly, there's a very very important question. Do not just jump into the answer of it, just think over it, absorb the question, and then you can write upon the same. Will the promise of the right which was promised by voters day, what was the right promised by voters day? That every one of us has the right to vote, right? So lead to the promise of deep constitutionalism that Republic Day stands for. So this asks you that whether democracy, that is the right to vote by each citizen who is above 18, has it led to a true republic, that is a true elected government? So you can write upon the same. Next we have under economics very small topic which is World Expo 2020 in Dubai. So it is to be held in Dubai, and see let's study about this particular event, that is World Expo. It is conducted by Bureau of International Expositions headquartered in Paris. So about this body, BIE is in charge of regulating those international exhibitions that last for more than 3 weeks and are of non-commercial nature. So there are 4 main types of such expos. One is World Expo, which is currently to be held in 2020 in Dubai. Then we have Specialized Expo, then we have Horticultural Expo, and lastly Triennale de Milano. Now do tell me in the comment section, where is this Milan city located, whereby this exhibition always takes place in Milan. Do mention it in the comment section. Also, India is not a member of BII, and World Expos, they take place every 5 years and last up to 6 months. So they are mainly for promoting the new developments related to science, technology, innovation, industrial growth, etc. So this particular exhibition, it is the first World Expo to be held in Middle East. Under environment section, in fact under disaster management section, we have Avalanche. So recently Jammu and Kashmir avalanche had taken place which took a toll on lives of many soldiers. So it's a common event there, right? Last year also there was a big avalanche there. So firstly, I hope you understand the meaning of avalanche. Avalanche is a rapid downward slide of snow mass, ice, and simultaneously the debris. So it is downside a mount. It's on the steep slope of a mountain. The snow mass, it rapidly comes down. Now see what happens is the small avalanches, they usually keep on occurring in the hilly areas, in the snow where snow-led mountains are there, right? But the large ones, they are quite infrequent. But then on the other hand, they are very devastating whenever they happen. So firstly we'll analyze what are the causes. Then we'll come to the rescue operations and all. Firstly, causes. The biggest cause and fundamental cause is that see, snow is held together by their mechanical strength, and when this mechanical strength becomes less than the force of gravity, or you can say otherwise, that when the force of gravity becomes more than the mechanical strength that binds the snow, avalanche occurs. Also, what are the ideal conditions for it? Firstly, you need to have a steep slope, a snow cover, a weak layer somewhere in the snow cover, and a trigger. This trigger could be anything as mentioned in the brackets as well. So for example, an earthquake could be a trigger, thermal changes, for example warming could be a trigger, blizzards could be a trigger. Coming to next slide, we have machine noise, shouts, sonic booms can also act as triggers. Then fundamentally one more thing, which is either an increase in stress, for example by fresh amount of snow accumulating, or a decrease in strength, for example by warming. In fact, warming and heavy rains are supposed to cause very very large avalanches, while the smaller ones are mainly due to sporting activities triggered by man, right, and professional activities. Also, so why are avalanches so much popular these days, right? Not these days, I mean these years, not this particular weather, this particular days, right? Not winter season, but I'm saying about this in general. So because of the more of people reaching there, more of growing winter tourism there, hydroelectric projects, transmission lines being laid there, population growth a lot, defense related activities, etc. Now coming to the control part of it. Firstly, we'll be doing those control measures that can be taken prior to such disaster. Then we'll be doing those measures that can be taken after such a disaster. So coming to prior part of it, Firstly, obviously, advanced planning, particularly in terms of where you're constructing the habitats, where you're constructing the roads, power lines, and railroads, etc. So there should be strict zoning and construction practices to be followed by people as well as government. Other than that, what you do is a very, very popular method, that is explosive triggering, which is very good. So the idea behind explosive triggering is cause many small controlled avalanches to avoid the larger ones. So time to time you trigger certain sort of avalanche, not avalanche proper as such. So you actually trigger small amount of snow for snow rapid snow moving towards downslide, rather than waiting for a large avalanche to take place. So this releases the amount of stress that has been gathered in the snowpack. Next we have is create inventory of the current snowpack, so that you get to know where is there a possibility of risk. Lastly, coming to the architecture part of it, so there are 4 type of architectures which you can follow. First is the supportive architecture. So snow can be supported, for example, by snow nets, which are made up of steel cables, nylon straps, etc. Then we have deflecting structures. Evident from the name itself, what they'll do, they'll change the route. So for example, these can be made of very large amount of earth, rock, or concrete structures, right? So they are sort of ways made for snow to be deflected. Then we have retarding structures. Again, evident from name, retarding is for slowing down the speed. So this particular retarding structures include large earth mounts made of concrete structures, which are often referred to as breakers. Lastly, we have direct protection. So this is the last resort in case snow still comes. So what you can do is, for example, you have certain sort of railroads, etc. So you can build rooftops over it. So now what will happen is, whenever the avalanche comes, it will pass over the rooftops, not hindering the road and the traffic, so on. So this is how architecture can help prior to the disaster being taking place. Next we have, after the disaster, we have search and rescue operations, right? So most of our soldiers or any person who is trapped and dies in avalanches, the most of the deaths that occur are mainly due to suffocation or hypothermia, a severe decrease in temperature. So one thing which you can do is companion rescue. What is companion rescue concept? See, survivors themselves can act as whoever the people are survived, they can actually help the fellow victims as the first responders. This is one thing. So in that context, every of such soldier, etc., must carry with them first aid kits. Then we have emergency position indicating radio beacons containing GPS. Then we have certain standard avalanche equipment, etc., must be carried. In fact, way back in Indian Express, there was a article that says that in India, disasters are mainly that prone. Why? Because we fail to carry or understand the concept or understand the importance of first aid kits. Then obviously have first aid kits, and lastly we always have the quick response teams to be there, and they must be equipped with latest rescue equipment such as communication capability, clearing tools, etc. Plus simultaneously you can also use sniffer dogs, etc., to locate the bodies. So this is how avalanche can be tackled. So friends, that's it for today, and thank you so much again for bearing with the delay. Thank you so much and have a great day.